Hi and welcome to another Making Sense of It with me, Emma Kenny.
And me, Peter Smith.
Thought I'd mix it up today by wearing a different striped top.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that in a lot of our podcasts I seem to be wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, I thought I'd wear the same shirt.
Pete and I are not fashion artists. We like to spend our budgets on other things, which is one of the main reasons why we often wear the same clothes, because you don't need too many clothes. This is a world where people have too many clothes. And as far as I'm concerned, a certain select number of T-shirts with jeans and a certain amount of dresses for TV on a rotation, that's how it works.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We're actually a day late today, aren't we?
Yeah, it's Wednesday morning.
Because Pete's been having an illness, a mystery illness.
Yeah, mystery illness. It's like Scooby-Doo ending.
Yeah, but not being found out because of the pesky
Yeah.
kids, more because the GP's ordered tests.
Yeah, there was no mask getting ripped off at the end of it.
Hopefully he's not going to die. And I say that because you never know. But you're having blood tests and urine tests,
Yeah.
and they don't think it's his heart, which is what he's worried about, because his dad had a major heart attack at 42 and all his dad's family died of them.
Yeah.
I'm not making light of it, by the way. I'm not making light of this situation.
It's trench foot. I've said it.
My mum said it was gout.
I know, gout. I don't
And then
even
it was
drink
tetanus.
that. Gout's like isn't that drinking? A drinking game.
Cheese and wine. It used to be a rich man's illness, but no, it's not. It's just arthritis. It's a form
Right,
of arthritis
no. Oh, well,
that
you
you
know.
feel at your extremities.
Yeah. What else was it? It was
Tetanus, until
yeah.
we read the...
That's what it
we were like, oh, well, he has been working in the garden. It could be tetanus.
Yeah.
So we looked online, and apparently we got to like the third symptom. It said grinning manically.
Yeah. Like,
I'm more likely to have
with
it.
a jaw wobble.
Locked
To
you
me,
off.
that sounds quite familiar.
Yeah.
Grinning and jaw wobbling. You
What,
know what I
people
mean?
taking drugs?
People taking ecstasy. Yeah, isn't that what I mean? It's like people,
That was awful in the news this week.
I know.
I just believe they should legalise every drug. I don't even care. You know, you can judge me. I'm on TV. I have these views. I know that I'm meant to be kind of mainstream. At the end of the day, I am an absolute supporter of every single drug being legalised, regulated and taxed in the UK. Let's take it away from the gangs. Let's take it away from all of these people coming in from Eastern Europe who have sex trafficking gangs, who literally put women on the streets. They don't have a life, those women. It's all to do with drugs and money. That's it.
Yeah.
Kill it.
Yeah, the way I see it is...
And by the way, yes, I am profiling there because I can, because it's illegal. Absolute. So there you go. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
Eastern European gangs are bringing women onto the streets. They are ruining their lives. They are murdering them. They are known to be doing this. Those poor bloody women who are being brought over thinking they're getting a better life and are put in that situation, that is down to drugs.
Yeah.
Why are we allowing it? Oh, because it's women. If it was men being treated that way, that would not be happening. It absolutely boils my blood. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Nobody's going to stop anybody taking drugs. No. Putting drugs on the street in shops where it's regulated, that's not going to encourage people to take drugs. Yeah. People will take drugs. Of course they will. People who may not have tried drugs may think occasionally of trying a drug. But the truth is, you're not going to become an addict unless you have a personality that will seek out addiction. Nothing you can do can make somebody become a drug addict. It's a choice that's based in their DNA, their psychology, their social upbringing, and the way that they feel about themselves, right? That is something they will find because they can go and buy alcohol.
I know. Well, that's what I was going to say. It's, you know, you're not going to, by legalise... People can get all the drugs. Whenever you're out...
Wherever, you get delivered to your house.
I know. It's literally so... It's not going to stop people... The cat's just in front of the camera.
Cat just wants to be on camera.
Yeah, the cat wants to be on camera.
Cat's lying in front of me in a loving way.
The people aren't going to be, you know, people can, anybody from any background can go out anywhere,
at
in
any
any
time,
city or any town, you know,
school.
and if they want to, if they try the hardest, they'll find drugs. So,
well, just go in a club, see the
Yeah,
guy who's
you
in the
know what I
corner,
mean? It's
who
not
people
gonna
keep going
stop-
up to, and just go there.
all it's going to do is make it so it's not as accessible, a little bit more accessible because it's legal, but it's not going to kill people.
No, and also you take the whole...
You know, unless you have an allergic reaction, which could happen to paracetamol, which could, you know...
But you take the whole emphasis out of it being seen as something seductive, interesting, and a little bit taboo. Yeah. As soon as you remove that...
Tax it, use the taxes for the
tax
benefit.
the shit out of it,
Yeah.
actually pay into the NHS for proper rehabilitation programmes so those who do fall down actually get picked back up in a really effective way. Plough it into employment so people who've had low opportunities and found themselves addicts can go and work. Take on the Portugal model. Okay, they've decriminalised it. I say go further. I say legalise, regulate, tax. Take it off the streets, and most importantly, get those poor women who are being absolutely murdered and raped and having horrible lives because this is seen as an absolute business. They get to be made safe.
You know what? It's gonna bring crime, gang
But
crime.
no, the thing is, the bigger question is, sorry to interrupt you,
No,
as I'm
go
on a
for
bit
it.
of a soapbox.
Yeah, go for
The
it.
bigger question you've got to ask yourself, though, is why is the government not doing that? And you know why the government's not doing that? Because they're absolutely in bloody bed with all of these systems that keep the poor people down. What drugs do is they offer an outlet to some individuals who struggle to deal and then to get involved in drugs because they emotionally need them to prop up whatever it is, and it keeps them down.
Yeah.
If you stop that, if you create programs where people who do have problems can get the right help, if you do get employment opportunities for them, which creates aspirations where they can start earning money, that's not what they want, because then people are going to be looking up at the government and saying, actually, what are you doing? What are you going to do? And taking them to rank and holding them to court. And actually, that's what they don't want. The government has a very clear system. The Tory government has a very clear system in this agenda. And that says the poor are stupid idiots who need to be kept in their place.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
rich need to be allowed to do what they want. That's the agenda. That's the agenda. And drugs underpins a lot of that. It's the same with food. I mean, it blows my mind. Don't get me wrong. I know everybody needs to take personal responsibility for their food. I know that. It's your job. But the fact that the food that we sell in the UK now is so high in sugar and fat that it makes the brain ingest that in the same way it does cocaine.
Yeah.
That is a problem. We have an absolute nation marketed to in a system that makes them feel that firstly having that extra side order or having that extra large meal because that's what they're getting offered for what seems to be a cheap price,
Yeah.
which isn't a cheap price, it just means you're spending more money and adding to your waistline. The government don't do anything about that because they're in bed with the food giants. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and the food giants that giants in the money world.
Yeah, and the irony is, you look at it, what did they actually go to town on? They absolutely went to town on smoking, right? Because the profit they were making from the companies that were actually selling nicotine suddenly was offset with the cost to the NHS.
Yeah.
So the minute that people were in trouble on the NHS because we can't afford to pay for them,
Yeah.
they absolutely went to town on the tobacco.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that demonstrates that when the government wants to do something that's economical for them, they absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Where's that with food? Where's that with drugs? You know, where are they doing it, which is serving the local communities and the wider communities so that
I
you
just
don't have
think that-
kids in prison.
I think that these
kids
people-
in prison for dealing E.
I know.
What on earth are you doing that for? How is that serving the community? How does that resolve anything? There's just another kid the next week dealing E.
You know.
Drives
I just
me
think
mad.
it's the people who are in charge of the country at the moment really aren't in touch with anybody, except for their own class.
Well, they are in touch with everybody. They just know what they want.
Yeah. Do you think they really know me in the way they speak? They don't look. They don't know what it's like to.
They think that people who are lower class are filth. That's what they think. They
Yeah,
think
they
they're
do.
filth.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. They see them as stupid. You know, everyone goes on about Brexit, and it's a really contentious issue because everyone's like, oh no, I don't want to leave Brexit now, I don't want to Brexit, whatever. But when you actually look at the communities that were being asked the questions, you're looking at Sunderland, for example, all of the industry has just been taken away. You look at Middlesbrough, you know, you look at the places where these individuals are being brought up in poverty
Yeah.
because actually there aren't any jobs unless you want to go and work in a call centre. You know, I believe that things like Middlesbrough and Sunderland are the call centre capitals. You know, that's the only job you can kind of go and get.
Yeah.
Gone are the historic father to son opportunities that used to exist, and that was something that we've seen diminish in the last 40 years, certainly since Maggie got hold of it and privatised everything. And the irony there is that people are angry, but they're making decisions based on anger, not on reality.
Yeah.
So when people were asked in those areas particularly, why are you going for Brexit, they were saying because they've had enough of immigration. And when they were asked about what they meant by immigration, they were saying that they didn't want Indian and Pakistani migrants coming in. So that has nothing to do with Europe. But
Yeah.
that was the argument. So what fundamentally has happened is people are not even thinking about politics anymore. They're thinking about anger.
Yeah.
And they're projecting that anger, particularly onto minority groups. And because of that, they look stupid, but they're not stupid. They're despondent, they're helpless, they're angry. And what we should be doing is making them feel part of a country that seems to have rejected their whole society. And it's scary that
it is.
people feel that way because they're feeling that way for the wrong reasons. And that's resulting in decisions that might be catastrophic, might not be catastrophic. To be honest, we're England, aren't we? In the UK, Great Britain's always been great. we just go, oh, whatever, let's get on with it,
Yeah.
and then do it better a lot of the time. But it's interesting as well that you go to those like places where you'd imagine them to be a really, really, really strong Labour hold, and they've lost seats, you know, in places that were always red, because the Tories do a really good job of making people like Corbyn seem like a nutter.
Yeah, no.
You know, and he looks like a nutter.
Yeah.
He does look like a nutter. You look at him and you'll just be like, no, we're just going to open the borders, and we're just going to... And people are like, but we're really upset and worried about that. You know, nobody sees the reality of it. They're just worried about the possibilities and potentials. You know, my parents will say, I remember England when it was different. And what they actually mean is, I remember England when it was white.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And the problem is that my argument to them, and they're people who I would say would do anything for anybody, whether you were black, white, yellow, blue, disabled, homosexual, none of that matters. As you know, we live in a very liberal family, but they definitely differentiate their England from my England.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's really interesting is it's had no bearing on that. They've had a great bloody life.
know.
So I look at them and I'll be like, you've had a brilliant life. All this diversity has not affected you in the slightest.
I know, it's funny, isn't it? My mum and dad in the 70s, it's a similar sort of story as well. You know, there was literally...
It must have changed a lot where you lived.
Yeah, it was predominantly white throughout the 70s and 80s, and you had the sort of the stereotypical Asian families that ran shops and stuff, you know, and God, the language around that was terrible. Yeah, it was. I won't go into what they used to say, but it was just common. And it didn't. So you brought up around an area where they say certain things about the shops and stuff, and it became just like
normal,
yeah. And it wasn't until you started growing up and then seeing different ethnic minorities in different schools and stuff that you suddenly realised that, you know, you can't speak about people like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember growing up in my little village, and I remember a girl being referred to as Black Sam.
Yeah.
There was Black Sam, Fat Sam, Small Sam.
Yeah.
So there were 3 Sams, and one was identified by a colour.
Yeah, I remember there was that was like in our area there was people identified by the colour.
And she had a really tough time growing up. Not racism-wise that was, I would say, directed. There was no really racist terms used, but just that identification. So she got into trouble with the police, and people would regularly refer to her, even the adults, as, oh, it was Black Sam. And you look back and you just think to yourself, there's been some dramatic changes. Like, some amazing changes. Like, people are still being dragged into the modern day.
Yeah.
But it's incomparable to how it was when we were kids.
I know.
It's incomparable to how it was.
It is. It's just it's changed for the better.
Massively.
You know what I mean? But it's just the eras, different eras, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it's you know, evolution of time and people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and
Yeah. Do you know, I even remember years ago, I did a lot of studying, and part of that was to kind of look at inherent racism.
right.
And I remember realising that I had an inherent racism kind of blueprint, i.e., if a taxi driver was coming, I'd describe him as an Asian taxi driver. If I got in the car, oh, I had an Asian taxi driver who took me to ABC, or this Indian taxi driver. It was like, it's just a taxi driver, Emma. But what I'm saying is that you don't even notice it. You think you've got a completely PC liberal attitude, but when you actually start to examine it a little bit more, you start seeing that as much as you think you are completely free of it, actually there are moments where you're just not free of it at all.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like when I see women who are wearing the full burqa, I like get a real reaction to it, because I'm like, particularly if it's a burqa with a veil, because I'm like, I want to see your eyes, you know, and I want to see, and that again, why? Like, why does it impact on me the way somebody else chooses dress? And I have to challenge that in myself. You know, I have to challenge it because I'm a feminist, and so as a feminist, I want women to be free. But that's making assumptions that these women are not choosing that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've really had to work with over the years to kind of get to a point where I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not completely okay with it, and I would be a liar if I was to sit here and go, yeah, I think it's cool walking around in complete black, not having any conversation with me because you've got a blocker. But that's not why they're doing it. Does that make sense? I project psychological beliefs onto that system. What they're doing is being true to Allah. Their faith usurps my desire to see them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's something that I've really had to challenge. I mean, it's worked quite a bit because I've been working quite a lot with Lauren Booth.
Yeah.
Who's obviously a white Muslim who's converted to Islam, and she's probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met.
Yeah.
One of the most peace-loving, people I've ever met. And that's been really helpful for me because, again, while she doesn't wear a full veil, she obviously always presents herself fully as a woman covered. And that's something that is really helpful for me.
I think it's the same with any, autonomous, person or somebody who's got enough agency, or if they've got agency to want to be able to do whatever. There's people in whatever faiths and whatever religions. If they don't want to be part of that faith or religion, then they remove themselves from it. I know it's going to be hard for them in some faiths and some religions because they get ostracized and
you're losing your whole family.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But I worked with young Muslim women that didn't want to do all that. But it's the same with Catholic people or Christian people if they don't impart that faith. Jewish men and women, they get absolutely pushed aside and dumped to the bottom of the pile.
The Hasidic Jews.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I don't get the outfits. I'm always going to say this, and it's not trying to be disrespectful, though it probably sounds disrespectful. But the thing is, for me, like, if there is a massive, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God who's all loving, which is essentially the definition of a perfect God, do you think they would have spent that long caring about the fashion?
I know, yeah.
It's the same with food. It's like, I don't think that on the scale of importance, food would come into it. I really don't. I mean, that's social cultures that have developed over time to decide that this is clean, this isn't clean.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to be quite pragmatic over what I would consider common sense. Yeah. But at the same time, you just have to accept that that's it. I would look appalling to a lot of people.
I guess within the certain religions across the world, there is going to be sections of that religion which think the same as that and practice.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I wonder if there's any
like C of E, like our
kind I wonder if there's any Hasidic Jews that are actually Hasidic Jews.
No, you can't be. You've got to. Absolutely, you've got to be
Right.
that way. That's following. What happened with the Hasidic Jews is really interesting, actually. So when Hitler, a hideous human being that he was, when he basically eradicated, that particular group of individuals in his country, that was when Jews were less orthodox. So they were just Jewish. They were incredibly successful. Let's be honest, we live just down the road from a very, very large Jewish community, and it's a very, very successful Jewish community, It's as simple as that. It's wealthy, And when you look at the billionaires in the UK, it's so disproportionate the amount of Jewish people who've succeeded because of their work ethic that's instilled in them pretty much from day one in that context. But the Hasidic group were very, very diminished, almost to a point of eradication.
Yeah, I do recall that.
And they decided to make a vow after the war that they would never let another community enter their world. They would stick to their own rules and regulations. So what's happened is the Hasidic Jews have grown faster exponentially. So there is I was listening to a philosopher not so long ago, and he said, if you want to create the strongest, most powerful and expansive group of people, try to destroy them. If you try to destroy them, it will create power in them. It's almost like the resilience that comes up is like, you will never do that to us again. It's an amazing story. Yeah. It's not something I understand. I'm Western. I'm a white Western woman. That's all I've ever known. I try my best to see things from different perspectives because as a psychologist, that's the case. Certainly when I was working with particularly Muslim young women, when I ran the mental health side of the college, one of the things I had to learn to do is to identify as a community, not as an individual. I work from the ego. How are you? What do you feel? And they're thinking about, well, actually, it's not just about me. It's about my parents. It's about my brothers and sisters. It's about my wider community. It's about shame. It's about being a good Muslim. Yeah. So having to work and learn to see it from their perspective was really, really helpful. And I struggled with it, because it's really hard to go from an ego position of going, well, what do you want? And well, you shouldn't put up with that. Yeah. Or, no, I don't understand why you're not allowed to go to university. Yeah. That was something I had to pull back from because that's almost like going, well, here, see my white Western female position. Yeah. And that's disrespectful. So that is something that I've really had to work against.
I guess it's just, it's a funny one really, isn't it? I guess it's just, because I was thinking about this the other day and I thought we should talk about it in the podcast, how, I don't know whether it's an age thing, or whether it's just, I don't know, I think we've spoken about it before a little bit, an enlightenment thing, it's a bit of a wake-up, just the sort of wanting to be a bit more peaceful with things, spending so many years sort of, and you're bang out of order, and this is wrong, and that's, and getting angry over things, and realising, that it's just, everybody can get on. you know, and even if there is differences, you know, I think it came down to as well. I know I was watching that World, which I think everybody should watch it at some point. Which is
Yeah,
on
you're a
Netflix.
massive history geek, aren't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't know looking at him. You wouldn't know looking at him that he's a massive history geek. He kind of sneaks off to watch things on
Yeah.
TV on his own.
Well, the World War II in colour, it's on Netflix. I'd watch it because it just gives you a bit of an eye opener really to it, and it's filtered down. It's just across the top of it. You know, you can go deeper on things with the World War II stuff. You know, I won't even go into World War or anything like that, but it just makes you realise that the death and the maiming and the killing and the families
The
lost,
sacrifice.
you know, and obviously it's to stop, you know, certain individuals from, you know, spreading hate and killing, and you know we had to, but the people that died and the people that got lost, and it's just, I don't know, you just watch it, you come away from it, and you just think, God, like, you know, none of it was called for really. For, you know, like Hitler, like blaming someone for something. 'Cause what's wrong inside? You know, unhinged. I mean, not of sound mind comes to the front, doesn't it? You know, it's like, you know, that is exactly. He was not of sound mind. You know, he was a crazy person. You know, he was mental health issues. You know,
Galore.
You know, and it's just, you know, this person managed to.
Well, television. The thing
Yeah.
was, he had the opportunity to be seen as a massive influence because of the fact that he
and
projected.
you see parts of it sort of, you know, in
Oh,
modern
brutal.
day. The way it's happening in some ways is in modern days, you know.
Oh, God, yeah, with people like Trump.
Yeah, and it's just, you would just need to get a hold of it and just, you know. But, you know, there is people, you know, in Middle East and different foreign countries wanting to hurt people because they don't, you know, but these are the people who are not of sound mind either. These are the people with mental health issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's, you know, they need to be, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Megalomaniacs.
Where's all the goodies gone?
Well, we're all here.
I know.
All around the world. Nobody, you know, you ask any woman anywhere in the world on the whole what she wants. She wants exactly the same things. She wants to be able to provide for her children, make sure they're always fed, make sure they're healthy, make sure they feel loved. She wants to be able to feel safe in her own home. Like, there are so many more things that connect us than divide us. But the division is required by the governments because it's all about money. Like, the truth is, if we just all like acknowledged that, let's let them get on with it as long as they're not doing anything horrendous. And that's what annoys me when you see things like Rwanda, where, you know, the UN went, but like, we didn't do anything about that. You know, mass genocide on a huge global scale. And did we make no? Because actually, at the end of the day, well, there was nothing to be made money-wise.
Well, have you seen this? There's, I saw it the other day, actually. I read about it the other day.
Well, we're getting very political today.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
but
apologise for not being as much fun.
In the war, World War II, I think it was World War II, the country's richest people, the UK's richest people, all wrote cheques.
Yeah, they did to get rid of the national deficit.
Get rid of the national debt,
Yeah.
to wipe out the national
That's
debt.
right, they did.
And quite a few of them haven't been cashed, and they cashed them all, but the money hasn't been touched.
Well, it's half. It's like
604 million.
Yeah, it's $500 million.
Yeah.
But the point is that we owe $4 trillion. So the argument is that there's no point cashing it at this moment
It's already
in time.
cashed. It's in the bank. It's
Yeah,
been
but
cashed. It's in the bank.
Yeah, but what they're saying, the people who are objecting to it are the people whose families it came from, because they're saying it can't impact on the national debt. They're saying unless it can grow to a position where actually it has influence, it will just be soaked up by it.
Yeah.
So there is an argument as to why. I'm not saying that they should be not used, but the point is that I think you can understand that perspective exists. But yeah, that's how people were in the UK. People were patriotic.
Well, maybe they should.
It's the same when you get loads of people saying that we have to apologise for our history. Like, I know that colonialism was hideous. It was terrible. Like, India was one of the most progressive societies. Like, it had universities before we did. It was the heart of mathematics and philosophy, you know, a massive area of that. People don't remember India that way. People remember India after colonialism, where we go in, ruin the country, prevent people from progressing, diminish their wealth to a point where they take on the only thing that the UK has really, really served to teach people, which is keep the rich rich, keep the poor poor.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's remained, which is why they're in such a state. And yet, it was an amazing place prior to us getting there. We all know that, right? And we're sorry for that. But now we're not in that situation. We can't then go back and apologise for Churchill, because Churchill was a racist. There's no doubt about it. But so were a lot of people back in that day. Is that right? No. But does that deny the impact that he had? No, it doesn't deny it. You know, at the end of the day, we're not under German rule because of the fact that he existed and all the other parties that were there. The same with things like, you know, you see statues being told to be taken down because they have people who had histories that were pro-slavery. I'm not pro-slavery. None of us are in the UK now. What I'm saying is that they still had impact, right? It was a time that liberals didn't exist. You know, I am a woman. I don't need to be apologised to by men because you used to own me when I got married. I don't need that because I'm not owned anymore.
Yeah.
You know, progress occurred. I don't want to blame people who of an era didn't have the knowledge and abilities to understand. What matters now, like you say, is creating progress. The problem with the past is when you ruminate on the past, albeit it was dreadful, you almost get lost in that. And then when progress begins, you kind of go, well, that's progress, but I want it to be more progressive because this needs to change. And you're like, you can't change it. Like, it's the most helpless and powerless position to be, is to try to change the past. Acknowledge it was terrible. You know, but there again, when my grandma and granddad were children, they were in poverty. You know, they were in abject poverty. I don't need to be apologised about that. I just need to not do it again.
Yeah.
You know, we need to solve it.
Yeah, which we do, and learn from the lessons. And
yeah,
I agree with that. I think we should just, you know, these you know, statues that want to be taken down and stuff, you know, it's you know, these people were there at their time, you know, and it's just
it was where society thought that was right.
It's history.
It's history.
Okay, you know, and it's
history.
Yeah, you've got to move forward. You've got to, you know, and that's what we're doing. But if you ruminate, like you say, and you're bringing it to light again, you see, by putting it in the news, we want to get that statue taken down. You're making people remember, you know, and then that'll make people angry, and then that'll make people want, you know, it's...
Yeah, you see, what happens is the right wing just go, oh, we'll put everything on that.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you're trying to
So what they're doing really is putting a spotlight on something which needs to fizzle out, needs to disappear. But, you know, the history's there, but leave it as history. I
mean, I think
bringing it back, like, let's bring that history back and put it there, and
I
let's
mean, I
make
know,
everything about
you know,
it.
we talk about it all the time. We have white privilege.
Yeah.
Even in the UK now, we are white, and we are now in a position financially where we're not struggling like we used to, right? So at the end of the day, I know I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And I know that it's harder. It is harder. One of my best friends is Asian. And she took years trying to get a job. She had to change her second name on applications because as soon as, like, the ISIS stuff started, she just couldn't get an interview. So that's disgusting, right? That's disgusting. And she absolutely doesn't feel the privilege that I have as a female who's white. And people might not like talking about that, but it's true. And you have to acknowledge it. You have to work hard to acknowledge it, because it's so easy to say, "Oh, I'm not." Like, what are you talking about? I'm just like, you know, I don't have any privilege. You do. You just do.
See, people don't see that sort of side of things, really. People trying to, when they see, like, sort of the Asian community working with each other.
Yeah, of course.
And they have, like, the builders, and they have, you know what I mean?
Because at least they can trust their own community.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. See, what they want, what the white privileged people who don't, you know, put it down to this, these people are always doing it within their own communities, you know what I mean? Have they ever thought that that's the only way that some of these individuals and families can survive by helping each other out?
We had a guy around the other day, didn't we, for something? And he was sitting at the table, and all of a sudden, from nowhere, he was talking about the fact that he lived in a certain place, and he'd noticed across the road that there were an Asian couple looking around at a house. So he went outside with his Staffordshire Bull Terrier and walked past to make sure that they could see him, and they didn't buy the house. His assumption was, we're white, therefore we wouldn't want Asians living next door to us.
I know.
How crippling and insane is that? And you kind of sit there for a minute and you go, my God, I might have white skin, but that doesn't hoard this desire to live in a white community. It's bizarre. I mean, we're lucky. We live in a really mixed community. I mean, that is one of the great things about where we live.
Yes.
It's just fundamentally got everything. We've got a massive Jewish community. We've got a massive Asian community. We've got a big Chinese community. We live in quite a lovely place. The
Northwest, especially Manchester, Greater Manchester, is...
And Thai's mates.
Yeah.
Thai, African.
Yeah. Not Taiwo. Taiwo's a guy I used to know. He's an African guy. Teppo. That's
Teppo Nubu. Like, he's the African. And then he's got is Dan and Will, and that's their group. They just have a really nice eclectic group. And then Evan, well, let's be honest, all of Evan's friends are Muslim Pakistani.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So it's like, it's lovely.
Because they see the millennials and the centennials, they're growing up
so
in a
different.
It is such a different
It's
outlook,
wonderful.
You know, and
they teach us, even though we think that, you know, we know and we're liberal and we're free with our ideas, like, watching that, it's changed everything for me. You know, I remember saying to you, like, I just feel like the future's safe. I look at our boys, like, I'm not going to use the word colourblind in an offensive way, because I think that if you're colourblind, you don't take into context the fact that you're lucky if you are white to some degree in the UK, because some people are really prejudiced. So if you're white, then you get more privilege to some degree in certain places. It shouldn't happen, but it does. You've got to be aware of that and make sure that you do all you can to make it a level playing field in life. But when I look at the boys, they just genuinely...
it doesn't exist within them
No.
to see that people
Any
can be different
of
colours.
it.
Yeah, this is the future, you see.
And that's so good.
This is the future.
And it makes me
know?
feel really like, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have new kind of whole environments and communities just seamlessly and harmoniously connecting. You just can't do that, right? That's always going to create friction because it's difference. It's just difference. Like, think about us on an instinctual basis. You see something that doesn't look the same as you, you know, because maybe the colour of skin or maybe the clothing. There's an instinct, you know, like from when we were predators of each other, you know, where we had to fight our neighbours and things like that, that almost hardwired you, like, oh, that's different. And you have to kind of do some work to acknowledge and accept it. But that's happening now. And I think, like, in 30 years' time, the UK is going to be a pretty insanely brilliant place to be, apart from the weather, because people just
I
are.
don't know. They say apart from the weather, moment. I know it's a little bit over.
Don't be lulled into false sense of security.
Oh, it's been gorgeous.
Yeah, what did we do yesterday?
Yesterday. You're not going to believe we went all Victorian.
We're all Victorian.
We went all Victorian.
Speaking of history.
Yes. We all got on our penny farthings. Mine being the best, of course.
Yours being the largest.
Absolutely, because I'm the.
You're the man.
Yeah, I'm the man. So I have the tallest. I have one of those top hats which touches the roof. Yes, and we
Whereas
all
me and the
rode.
children, we were all on the three wheeler.
The three-wheeler. The three-wheeler.
Whatever they're what they
tandems.
call tandems.
Yeah,
But it was
two-wheelers.
more. It was more than a tandem.
We had like a.
We had
an extra long tandem.
there was another three of. There's four of us.
Yeah, it's still two wheels.
Oh, it wouldn't be two wheels. It couldn't be if it was that long that it had four seats on.
just
It
a
would
mass-
bend in the middle.
Not if you had like a really strong
No,
frame.
you'd have to have one in the middle.
How would you turn?
I mean, they don't exist because that. If they don't exist because of
I'm
that,
sure they exist. You get like 1 to 3 on and stuff.
I don't know.
Sure you can.
We'll have to look it up. You definitely
Yeah.
get one to two.
Yeah, it's a tandem.
Tandem.
Yeah. When you get what's the third in a tandem? Tridum. No, that's not.
And a
even word.
quadrum.
Quadrum. Yeah. Quintum.
Check out next week when Pete and Emma go into business with their ever
Anyway,
increasing
yeah.
wheels.
Leading on
bikes.
from politics, we got on our penny farthings and we rode over to the Derbyshire.
We did. Had a
Derwent.
Yeah, we went through Derwent.
Derwent Vale, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Over
Snake Pass.
Yeah, over Snake Pass in the northwest, and
Snake Pass, the road that's closed more often than it's open.
yeah, it's like one of those over the top of the moors
It is
roads
exactly
where you
that,
get
yeah.
murdered, but lovely. I mean, beautiful.
All the way
Just
there.
don't- yeah.
All the way there, the kids are like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
would you go in there for £1 million into that forest?
If there was a
If there were
murderer.
murderers in there, no." And none of you will accept such a challenge if that's ever on the table.
Well, we got there. We went to an proper open air swimming pool.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
check it out if you've never been there.
Had the Sage swimming pool.
Had the Sage, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Beautiful
insane.
place.
It was, but we realised when we got there that unlike in Manchester where it was really sunny, we were so high up that it was really cloudy and it was
Yeah.
pretty cold.
Yeah. But on a nice day, it'd be absolutely. It was, you know what? It was nice. It was different.
We had an hour in
Yeah.
there, didn't we?
We had an hour in there. It was 28 degrees, this pool. You know what I mean? So it is.
Sounds a lot warmer than it is, let me tell you.
Yeah.
28 degrees, you think, oh, that's like being on holiday, isn't it? No,
No, it's
just
not.
28 degrees above freezing. That's
Yeah.
what it meant.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hot sauna, it was just
Yeah.
really quite cold.
28 degrees centigrade Fahrenheit
We had a
Celsius.
great time though, didn't we?
Yeah. What's the deal? Yeah.
Fahrenheit, Celsius?
Yeah, 28 degrees Fahrenheit Celsius centigrade.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've had
Well,
this con-
Fahrenheit is the bigger one. So if it's like 28 degrees Celsius, then
It's
it's 70,
206
28,
5.9.
56, 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
Celsius centigrade.
Centigrade.
What's centigrade?
You just,
I know, it's getting into it. We've had this conversation before. haven't
what
we?
is centigrade?
Celsius? I don't know.
No, Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
What's centigrade? You just made a word up.
I'm
Does
sure.
it exist?
Centigrade. If it doesn't, it should. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, it's 24 Fahrenheit Celsius. Oh, you know what? I'm actually talking myself into a corner here. I don't really know. Anyway,
It's
we
what
went
it sounds
swimming.
like
Yeah.
it should exist, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, just say them all. 28 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit, centigrade.
Centigrade.
Centigrade. I don't know. It's a good word.
It
though.
sounds like a drink.
Yeah.
One of
Have
those,
you
like,
ever woken up
really-
in the morning and you, and you felt a bit bloaty? Have some centigrade. Just going back to the Chinese sort of adverts now, Japanese adverts.
That is it.
Centigrade.
Glug, 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 glug,
Oh,
glug.
on this Spanish radio. Centigrade.
Centigrade.
Centigrade. Ding dong dong. You know, that's the Spanish radio. I always get it when you're in Spain, you know, Ibiza, and you're it's like, what are they saying? Centigrade. Oh.
We went out yesterday though afterwards. We had food and it was amazing.
Oh, yeah,
I know
what
this.
was it
This is.
called?
I know. Right, like
The ploughman's
I know
inn, the flying pig.
As podcasts go, ours is just bizarre, right?
Yeah.
But you know, this is genuinely something that was a highlight for us this week. Not only did we go open air swimming, which automatically made us feel healthy.
Yeah.
And when you feel healthy, you automatically need to go and order food because you're so healthy that you need to sustain that health by just eating a large meal. So we went straight away, didn't we, to this pub.
What was it called?
Yeah,
the
something.
ploughman's,
I don't know.
the butcher's block or something.
Just making words.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
flying pig.
don't follow that suggestion because you will be going to somewhere we don't know.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't-
in Hathersage anyway.
It's 2
and it
seconds
was-
away.
Yeah, in Hathersage, and it's the really nice one.
It was really good. So we look, vegetarian food's always a bit dodgy, isn't it? Like you go to a pub and like inevitably you'll end up having side orders.
Yeah.
And you might get cheese pie, which I'm partial to, but nevertheless, we don't usually get a good choice. Oh my God, we went to this place and they had, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you're northern, you like sausages and mash. You just do.
Yeah.
And I've never had sausages and mash that were meat, but I like veggie sausages and I love mash. Anyway, we went there, didn't we? And they had veggie sausages and they gave you 3. Let me tell you, that is a good number. 3 sausages on a bed of mash with smashed peas and like this gravy that was thick and delicious
like
with like fried
an
onions
onion
on.
sort of chutney gravy or something, wasn't it? It was, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
But yeah, for a vegetarian, to get
Yeah.
a good vegetarian. pub.
Demolished it. I
Yeah.
gave you one of my sausages, so you had 4 and I had 2.
Yeah, but it's definitely
That's
a
the
good
right
place
number.
to,
It was dead cheap.
I just can't remember the name of it. The
Anyway, it's really
Ploughing
good.
or the something.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a really nice. But what was great again, we went out. and
Flying something.
Oh, shut up!
Scotsman.
It doesn't matter, does it? Oh, there was something to do with Scots because of the fact that the pictures on the wall were all about the Scots who'd come here.
Was it?
Yeah. So it was something Scots. It's got Scott in it. If you want to look in Hathersage, it's got Scott in the title.
Right, the Flying Scotsman. The Scotsman's plough.
That could be it. But anyway, let's not ruminate on this because nobody's interested.
No.
But what was great was we remember that feeling of holidays, didn't we, yesterday? And also
Yeah.
like taking the boys away from just being teenagers.
Yeah, getting them off like digital and
Yeah.
digital detox style. which
It's
we're a
so
fan of, and
important to do that as a family, isn't it?
It's sort of, it gives you a bit of that nostalgic feeling
It
of
does.
like, you know, if anybody's out there and in fact, you know what, to be honest, you don't have to be, it can be in any country, you know, if you live in Australia or America or whatever, and you'll know that feeling of if you go out for a day out with your family when you're a kid, where you get up and the sun's shining wherever you are, but you're packing the car with with your foil and your sandwiches and your coffee and a thing. And I mean, for us, we would go to like Whitby in the northeast of England.
Yeah, you used to kind of really England holiday. Didn't we? We went to the Lake District because Mum and Dad didn't have
Yeah.
the cash, and my Uncle Derek had a
Well,
place there.
I was more in the northeast, so it was
Yeah.
like we'd go to like a place called Walton Lido, which is like a river with rapids in, or Richmond River, or Whitby, or Scarborough, you know, Bridlington, and we'd go down the coast and we'd do like sort of days there, and it's just the smell, like those smells that you can always remember, the nostalgic smells, you know, and even to this day, if you smell it, like I'm gonna do it. In fact, I'm going to do it when we go out just so I can open the coffee in a car and get some sandwiches out
That
and
slightly
go,
plastic tasting
yeah,
coffee.
yeah, you know, but
I remember my
That's-
sandwiches on the beach with my grandma because we did used to go to the Isle of Man because my dad had a call in the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
So when he used to sell textiles, one of the places that he covered was the Isle of Man. So in the summer, inevitably that meant that he'd get expenses to go over, and because he had a car, as long as the car was filled, it was the same price. So my gran, me, my brother, my sister, all in the back of a Ford Cortina,
Love it.
and my mum and dad, massive roof rack on, obviously, with all of our stuff. And we'd go over, my grandma had always baked cakes as well, but we'd go over there and we'd spend like a week to 2 weeks in the Isle of Man. And I can still remember, my granddad had passed away by that point, so unfortunately, he did used to come, but my most memories are with my grandma. and she'd always do our sandwiches, and we'd get on the beach, and you'd always end up eating sand. You'd
Yeah,
always end
yeah.
up just, there was a crunch between, I mean, you
Yeah.
had to put up with it, but
Yeah.
it was just part and parcel of being like an 80s
I'd open it on
kid.
the foil and stuff, and it'd be there.
Yeah.
And the sand would be in, and be like, oh dear, you
I
know.
know.
But yeah, I totally remember that sort of vibe. But yeah, it's just that's what it did to us when we went out the other day. You know, you get that.
You went to Flamenco Land.
Yeah, in the northeast, yeah, of England, yeah, the Flamingo Land.
Your
was,
parents went to exciting places.
Well, I didn't go abroad till I was 18. So
No, we didn't go
we'd either go. When we were small kids, it was St Ives, and then and that was sort of every couple of years we'd go there for like a week or 2 weeks, you know, with the family. But we'd all go down together and stuff. We'd all get in a minibus and we'd all travel down together.
How many went with you?
Oh my gosh! So it was like
you had
1, 2,
quite a
3,
big
4,
family, didn't
yeah.
you?
So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 11.
And obviously foster kids as well then.
That was
Sometimes.
later on.
Okay.
It was later on, yeah, the foster kids. So what we'd do is
That must have been so exciting.
well, yeah. I mean, it was. I'd just sit in the back and play with Star Wars, you know, on the way down. But I remember, yeah, we'd all get. I mean, I've got the photos and stuff. But going to Tenby was brilliant because it was like it was like the old English, getting there, the old
never
Welsh
been.
English. It's a beautiful place, but the
never been.
beaches there, on the beach, it was when it was
Like
just,
summer.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
boiling hot, and because the sea was clear as well.
Yeah.
You know, you'd get in the sea, you'd be swimming, it'd be clear. It was literally that warm. It was because I never knew abroad. I'd never been there, so it was literally that warm that you'd think you were abroad.
Isn't
you know.
it weird though that it's changed? I don't care what people say. Like it has definitely changed. Like when we were kids in the summer, you used to get that kind of misty hot summer, and you'd always know when you were coming to the end of your term, particularly at primary school, because you'd be allowed to go out and like lessons would be outside. You might go do French rounders and things like that,
Yeah.
and you would smell a certain smell, and it was kind of a mix between fresh cut grass and the scent of the flowers, and the air was kind of almost misty and like beautifully hot and sunny, and it just doesn't happen anymore.
Light airplanes above.
Yeah, always a random dog running across the
Yeah. It was definitely the light airplane thing. You know, they're always out. Obviously, and I realise now that it's because it's clear skies, so they're out and they can see. You know
I know, but it was amazing.
Yeah, that smell. I can smell it. It's a nostalgic thing again. You can smell. They'd have the door open or the windows open in your classroom as well.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
that hot, you know. God. I mean, it's starting to get all nostalgic now. You know, again, we've talked about the smells before that can make you feel like that.
Things had so much meaning when I was young compared, I think, to children today. And that's not to say that children today have any disadvantage to what I experienced. It's just different. But because we didn't have a lot, like mum and dad could never afford to buy me toys. I might get a toy at Christmas with like a secondhand bike or something. Christmases, they made magical every single year, my parents. Like it really didn't matter. It just was pure magic every single year, apart from the year when I asked for an electric guitar and my mum told me the night before Christmas morning that electric guitars had sold out everywhere. So they couldn't get me one. And what they'd actually done is gone and bought an orchestral guitar that I obviously never played because it's very different to
An
an electric
orchestral guitar? What's
Yeah, it was
that?
played in an orchestra. This particular guitar was a guy's. It was just an acoustic guitar. Not even acoustic, it was a classical guitar. I know, right? That's not what you want when you're 10. So that was just like a massive disappointment. But apart from that, they always came through with Christmas. It was amazing. I'm not saying I've been damaged by the fact that I never got to be an electric guitarist, but I do blame them fully. It is basically my parents' fault that I'm not part of a rock group that's made millions, because that would have happened. That was what I thought when I was 10. So that's their fault. Completely on them. It's on them. On you, parents.
You are a good singer, though.
Massively on you, parents. Could have been a completely big game changer, that. Anyway, that never got used. But Christmas was like one of those things as well. And so in the years that I was a child, when crazes happened at school, like I couldn't afford to be involved, right?
Yeah. Like
So,
the yo-yo craze.
Yeah, Cheekaboos. Cheekaboos feels like furry things. And like, or Barbies and things like that. So I never had any of those things, and it's cool. It doesn't matter. But I definitely coveted them. I used to like look and really want. So like if I got something on occasion, it was a big deal. Like if my grandma bought me a present, like a doll or something, it's like a massive deal. I didn't even like dolls, but it was a massive deal that I got them. Kids today, I think, get a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we watch our kids and we're trying to get them excited about something, and it's just available the whole time.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, mine was Star Wars. So I was just like Star Wars from the age of whatever I can remember,
Yeah,
really.
we've still got them all.
So everything I got was Star Wars, really. You know, it was literally. I remember when I was younger, that's more, it was just normal toys, you know, cars and you know what I mean, and like toy guns and stuff. But when I got a little bit older, when Star Wars came out, just after that, my whole family had just like asked me what I'd got and what I hadn't got, you know, and it'd just be that really. So it was just sort of, yeah. I mean, I used to sit in front of Star Wars toys because I didn't have loads. I got loads in the end, you know, stuff like, you know, like, but I collected them myself as well when I was older, you know. But it was just for the fact I could. But yeah, I'd stand in front of, and go to toy shops and stand in front of them. And just, and when I look back now, think about the price of them. They're so cheap, you know, like 75 pence for a figure. You know, you'd be like
75p was a big deal.
It was a big deal then, you know. So, but I'd stand in front of them and just stand and just look and just wish and, you know, go wow, you know. And,
I remember when you could get 3 jelly teddy bears for half pence.
Yeah.
So like if you had 10 pence,
2 for a penny as well, 2 for penny shoes.
Yeah, but like the 3 teddy bears for half a p, so 6 little teddy bears for 1 pence. Times 10 is 60. You could get 60 little jelly sweets for 10 pence.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like insane. That was 1983 that the half penny went out.
Like a 10 pence mix up.
It was big.
It wasn't just 10 things for a penny.
No, it was a proper deal.
Anything that was a penny. I mean, we used to get those massive chews, the big things that, you know, they were 2 pence. And that was like that was a finale. You know,
I know which ones they were, like the refresher ones and things like
you'd
that.
get the big one and you'd put that in there, you know, then you'd have like,
That was pièce de résistance.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
Rainbow crystals and licorice.
Yeah,
licorice.
2 flying saucers, 2 for a penny and stuff like that, you know, it was, and then the blackjacks.
My mum worked in a sweet shop, and then I worked in a sweet shop later on.
Yeah.
But when my mum worked in a sweet shop, it was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't have lumps of gelatine.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't have marshmallows.
I wasn't vegetarian then, was I? So
no, but I used to have like rainbow crystals. I went around to my sister's not so long ago, and I kid you not, I walked in and there was a full-on tub like that of rainbow crystals, and then next to it, a big box of red lollies. And I was like, "You are joking me?" She was like, "No, the worst thing is I've had half of them." She said, "I got it for the kids, but I'm halfway through it already." She could afford it. She's tiny, but
did she get the lollies and dip them in? Or?
Yeah, 30 quid. It cost her for both of it. She just loves it. She's just like, she always did. My sister always loved rainbow crystals. Yeah. Because again, we didn't have the money.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost impossible for me to imagine what that was like. Because whilst we aren't big spenders by any stretch of the imagination, we don't really have to think about what we have. Because one, we don't have expensive taste. Yeah. And secondly, right now, touch wood, and thank the universe, we're okay.
Yeah.
Certainly by no means wealthy, but okay. And that means that when I go and spend money on food, or maybe go out for a meal occasionally, I'm not thinking, oh my God, you know. But when I was younger, I remember so many times where I just couldn't have. Most of the time, I just couldn't have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, because my parents were not fair, they didn't have the money.
And
then when I started working and I ended up like with 4 or 5 jobs at a time, I could buy stuff. But again, it was limited, you know, because back in the day, you know, you'd work for a day, you'd earn 8 quid. Yeah. That would be your like wage, and you couldn't buy a pair of shoes. And I can remember having to save up and get things and having that reaction that, you know, what you bought had meaning, you know, it had real meaning. Yeah. I mean, I saved up when I was a kid for my first pair of Doc Martens. Oh my God. And I can still remember the way it felt to just have them in the box and just know they were mine, and it would never diminish. Like I used to put those on. I mean, I had worn them for about 10 years, but there was just that feeling of meaning. My kids don't know that feeling. And it's almost like they've had so much more, but it's taken something really important away.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, growing up there, it just made me thinking as you were saying that, you know, it's like standing and you'd want something and you'd want it that bad.
So badly.
You know, but you'd never get it. No. You know, as your parents couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, working class, man. You know, it's like when you're working class and you're growing up, it is.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that are a lot worse off, you know, but my parents and your parents did everything they possibly could to make ends meet, you know.
It's different now, because what happened, and you can actually see this, you can actually see what happened. So as the economy became tighter, so people had less, the resurgence of cheap bargain places began to really go mental. So suddenly Matalan existed, Primark existed, Lidl, Aldi, right? So people don't have to have less. It's ironic. What we've done is we've created a whole surface value of people being able to go into shops and have lots for cheap.
Yeah.
So when we were younger, that didn't exist.
I know.
You went to Quick Save instead of Marks and Spencer's, but Asda and Quick Save at the time, Tesco really didn't exist that much. But Asda and Quick Save, you go to, that was the bargain you could get, but it was still relatively expensive. I can remember my mum would once a month buy cream cakes. That was once a month she would buy from Asda 2 shoe buns for my dad and her, and then they shared them with us, right? 2 shoe buns.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. And when I was a very young kid, and I often say this to people, I could literally have this painted. It would be the exact thing. It's so powerful in my mind. My mum, every fortnight, would walk up to our local deli and she'd have saved a housekeeping and she would go and she would buy a chocolate cake, right? And it was like a fondant covered, like a glaze of icing, and it had a cherry and a walnut and then little sprinkles around the side. It was only small, and that would be divided. And me and my sister, when she came home, we would stand and we would stare at that cake for 2 hours before our meal was we would stand and we would stare at it. And you know what? I made myself like cherries because nobody in the family liked cherries, right? And I thought, I'm going to like cherries so I can have that cherry. And I love glacé cherries. I can eat a whole thing of them because that connects to that memory. And I can remember we would just sit, my sister and me, it was like the most amazing. And we always laugh because you didn't have, obviously, the money and options that we have now. When we went to my Grandma Bolton, she crops up quite a lot in this blog, but my Grandma Bolton was a great homely cook. It was plain cooking, but it was tasty cooking, right? And she would make the best sponges, right? Heavy, thick sponges, like syrup sponge, jam sponge. My sister to this day can still not eat syrup sponge cake because it makes her angry. Right? She can't. And why? Because she always knew you wouldn't get a big portion because there was everyone to share it with, and she loved it so much that she just started getting angry. So she says, literally now, she'll start eating the syrup sponge, and she starts getting really angry.
This is mine.
Yeah, because you just couldn't have it.
It's funny how like these things evoke different feelings, isn't it? You know, there's nostalgic feelings and then
well, it's
happiness, anger. You know,
it's even like parenting today. Like our kids have different meals all the time. We have different meals. You know, we all eat Italian. You know, we'll all sit down to the same dinner for Italian. We enjoy that a few times a week, right? The rest of the time, it will be like cheese pie and stuff for you and Tide. Evan will have like salad and wraps because he's like seriously a vegan, and we kind of do that without a second's thought. When we were kids, you got what you got. And I can remember before I went vegetarian at 9 years old, I used to dread coming home on a Wednesday because my mum would always do a bloody meat pie on a Wednesday. And it stunk and I hated it. I hated it. But I had to have something. I had to because that's what you did. Yeah. These days, you just kind of allow your kids to dictate to some degree what they have.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It is, isn't it? Gosh, I'm just... got all these nostalgic feelings now. I'm sat here, you know, it's like, I don't know if it's sunshine that started it, you know, which would be hard for anybody that lives in a fully sunny climate, which is what I want to do, you know, which is what we want to do, isn't it?
One day, just after the Euro Millions win.
Yeah, which is coming this Friday, apparently.
Absolutely. I don't care, as long as it's over like 10 million, I'm fine.
I had an email from it said, we're gonna let you win.
I won £6.90 last week.
Did you?
Yeah, £6.90. I just wish they wouldn't get in touch with me. It really annoys me that they do that. Don't email me. Only email me if I've won over $1 million. Yeah. At that point, email me all you want.
I won a lucky dip. It's even worse.
Is it?
You've won a lucky dip. Thanks. Just do it.
It's not lucky, is it?
Yeah, it's just a dip.
It's only lucky if I win.
Yeah, it's just another go.
Yeah.
You've won another go for free. It's just like, oh God, it's like I'm in a fairground, bloody, you know, old-fashioned Victorian fairground. You haven't won a goldfish, Pete. What have you won? You've won another go that you're not going to win on.
You used to get gonks.
Gonks?
Remember? Gonks. You used to win a gonk.
You know what? A gonk. I used to think people that were just sort of like, ooh, gonks.
No,
you know?
gonks. They were like a tube thing, like could be a toilet roll or something like that with hair.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And like fell and just rubbish.
Yeah, gonk,
I don't want a gonk.
Yeah. That's
I want
what
a
you call them.
goldfish.
Is that they're called? Gonks?
Gonks.
Brilliant. I always wondered what they were called.
Yeah, they're called
One
gonks.
of those really bad put together teddies that fall to
Terrible.
bits. Yeah.
Just absolutely rubbish.
Oh my God, gonks.
I know.
What a great word.
I know, back in the day.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's funny, isn't it, looking back on things? Because we've been looking back at pictures of me, and I was in Guyana about 8 years ago, doing a pilot for an American network, and I was basically in the jungle working with couples, and it was a really extreme environment, and I was looking through all the pictures and videos that I've not seen for a long time, and you were looking through them, weren't you?
Yeah.
And it's been one of those weeks where I've looked back and kind of seen how I've changed. And about a week ago, we were also looking back at some videos I'd done.
Yeah.
And I was a proper little porker for a bit. I was a proper little porker.
It's funny how the different time, different years, you look at yourself, you know.
My head was massive.
Yeah.
I had a massive head.
I didn't think you had a massive head.
Well, I did, and it's on film. So, you know, if you get my head now compared to that head there, it's massive. It's like I don't put weight on normally. I don't put weight on in places that normal people put it on, like on your
But
backside.
for some reason, you just had a massive
Put it on my head. Just like, oh, Emma's got a massive head. What's going on with her head? And then I looked at that stuff in Guyana, and I'm like really skinny and really toned because I was doing like kettlebells and everything. I'm getting back into my fitness now. I had an injury, so I couldn't do it for a while, but I'm getting back in. But it's those moments where you're like, oh my God, you know, you can just let it go, can't you?
Yeah. Well, we're refusing to age anyway, so we're going to be those 65-year-olds that are like...
Just like who think they're 40.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're like, cool. Yeah, but everybody else will be like, when are they going to have their age?
Yeah, so watch this space, you know, Q running off and formaldehyding myself. Hey, you look like you've been formaldehyded, Pete.
I'm going to start buying those bands, you know, those bands that like you could wear like really tight so that you just like,
Just pull your hair
yeah,
right
that's
back,
right, really tight.
I'm going to grow my hair so I can just pull it back and have a full man bun, but it's just good reason is so I can like pull my face back like that.
I know. Honestly, seriously, gravity can get stuffed. I'm not going down the jowl route.
No.
My mum's gorgeous, but bloody hell, she's got jowls.
Well, you know, surgery will be happening. I'm gonna get my 25-year-old
Yeah, if any plastic
face.
surgeons are watching this in any place or listening to this in any place, we will definitely allow you to operate on our heads.
As long as I'll give you a photo of my face when I was 30, you can put that face on this face. You know what I mean? You can grow that face. There must be a way of growing faces.
I feel dead sorry for myself that my nose got really badly broken. The NHS really fluffed it up, doing endoscopic sinus surgery, collapsed my bridge, yeah? So they had to give me a rhinoplasty, and they did it wrong. So then I had to have a revision rhinoplasty. They did it worse, bridge collapsed again. So then I paid, because I thought, I'm not doing it again with the NHS, even though they've admitted responsibility and stuff. Paid, he's done it wrong, and even admitted that he's made a bad job of it. And I'm like, I can't believe
So if there's
this.
any amazing rhinoplasty surgeons out there,
It's not for vanity. I'd just like my original nose, please.
who are world renowned,
Yeah.
Emma will pay, and she wants it doing
Well, I mean, I'd like a discount if I'm going to do it on my podcast.
free.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't want it free. It's ridiculous that people in the public eye get things for free. You know that I feel
You
that
always
way.
pay your way.
I do pay my way.
You do pay
and
your
when
way.
people give me things for free, right, which is very rare, but nonetheless, I go to town on it.
I know you do.
I'm like, wow, that's amazing that you've given it me free. And I'm going to tell everyone I've got it for free.
Yeah.
Because that's incredible. I don't know why you've done it, so now I'm going to make it so that I've actually given you stuff for free, which makes us equal. Well, we've talked about nostalgia, politics, bit of white privilege thrown in there, and we've ended up on the most important subject of all, which is my nose. And hopefully one
That
day...
is the most important subject.
So not the most important subject that we talked about
From my eyes, from my eyes.
Yeah, because I've got a dodgy nose now. It's on wrong. It's been put on wrong, and it's got a massive bump in the middle.
It's because
one nose back.
It's because I love you, and that's why.
He's have a little pinched nose, and then they operated to try and fix the bloody bridge because of their idiotic mistakes. And now I've got a dodgy nose, but never mind. If I take it straight on, it's hideous, honestly. I'm not vain. It sounds vain, but I just want my original. When people go in and they want an Angelina nose, I go in with my original nose and go, can I have my nose back?
It's actually the original
Can I have
nose as
my
well.
nose?
She's kept it, you know what I mean? There's my original nose. Can you put it back on, please?
And on that bombshell, thanks for joining another Making Sense of It. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, Peter will have got his results from his medical test. It won't be too serious, or it might be a different tone next week, should we find out it really is, and all I've been doing is laughing at him. Stay happy, everyone. Take care.